Welcome to Dark Sorcery. I'm Alfredo Martinez, and I have with me the one and only Anton Mastroianni. How you doing, Anton?
I'm very good, brother. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's good to have you back on the channel. I know we had a pretty good chat last time we were on and got a pretty good response. And what have you been up to lately?
Not much, man. Just been doing a few different projects, a few different path workings.
Yeah, we were talking, and you had mentioned that you have been doing a lust path working. How's that going for you?
It's been going pretty well. I've been mostly doing it with Lilith and Asmodeus, gaining a couple familiars that specialize in lust, mainly the influence of how someone will see you, glamour, even some dream walking effects.
Little glamour magic.
Yep.
Yeah, that's always interesting. And also, you've been doing some money path working. How's that going?
Very well, very well. It's gotten me in a way better job position than I was in before, and a job that's got way more opportunities and doors that will come in the path later down the road. But also gaining some sort of vampiric curse that I can place upon businesses to somewhat drain their income and all of their opportunities and wealth, and have it sort of placed upon me or a business that I want to create.
Yeah, and that ties in mostly with, I was going to ask about your vampiric path working. That's also going. So besides magic, what else? I mean, besides money, what else is the vampiric path working been tying into?
What do you mean by that exactly?
I mean, like, okay, so you said you've been using the money path working as in your vampiric path work as far as, draining, that type of thing, finances.
Well, mainly it's using sort of a portal as a conduit, because every portal a practitioner opens, they're somewhat linked to, because they're investing a lot of their own energy to actually tear open this portal in the astral. And what I've done is put a sigil on the business. You can literally draw it on the business, but for me, I astral projected and drew it astrally on the building, and sort of ingrained it into the building astrally. So all the income, all the wealth, the opportunity gets drawn through that sigil and put into the portal and delivered to me by the spirits of finance.
Okay, so let's say, like, take for instance a bank, drawing a sigil on a bank or somewhere where there's a lot of finances in town. Yeah, I definitely see what you mean. I've heard of people doing that. Very, very interesting. Now, how important would you say is item cleansing?
Pardon, it just lagged for a second.
Okay, sorry. How important would you say is item cleansing?
Oh, it's very important. Absolutely essential, especially if it's an item you've picked up from somewhere else. Like, I find things in opportunity shops all the time that are really handy, like this necklace here. I use this to bind a couple familiars to, and in order to use it, you have to get rid of any previous attachments that have been placed upon it, any energies that have been placed upon it that might interfere with the rite. So to do that, I'll usually get sage, or frankincense, because of the sun correspondent, and I'll use like a little incantation, like sacred herb, power of air, cleanse whatever is within here, things like that.
Okay. Now, you had mentioned astral travel, and I know that there's a lot of people who do struggle with astral travel and trying to get going with it. Now, according to your point of view, what would you say is the biggest obstacle in overcoming as far as doing astral travel?
There's a few different obstacles that come with it, but my main one was just like letting go to be able to, project, because you do have to get into a state where you're almost asleep or unconscious, and a lot of people struggle to do that immediately. So they'll do like the method where you set an alarm like every 10 minutes, and then you sort of go in that in-between state of being fully unconscious and conscious. The other obstacle is holding the actual projection. See, what happened with me when I started projecting often was my double would get sucked back into my body. And a good trick for that is to focus on your hands or rub your astral double's hands together. Because for some reason, when you focus on your hands or touch things in the astral, you sort of hold it a bit better and it's more vivid.
Okay. Well said. Well said. Now, what's the occult community like in Australia?
It's very small. It's very rare that I find other people that practice here. But when I do, it's always good conversations. I believe I met a lady a few months ago in the city, first witch I've actually met here. And I was doing my job in her house, and I noticed her altar, all the plants, all the crystals. And I said to her, "Oh yeah, you're into magic." And she said, "Yeah, I'm very into it. I'm more of a cottage witch." She asked me about my practice, and the more I explained about my practice, the more she sort of like got interested in the conversation and lit up. It was a good conversation, but not many meetups around here, not many orders that I know of. But yeah.
Would you say, like, if you say you're a magician or an occultist or, a witch or something like that in public, is it for the most part accepted by the community, by everybody, by society?
A lot of people are interested but scared, and a lot of people will view you as a crazy, so to speak. That sucks, but it is what it is. But for the majority, most of them are very interested, but they always ask for a reading, always.
Yeah, I know what that's like. Do you think that one day religion will be obsolete?
Yes, I do, but I feel like people will still practice religion once it is obsolete.
Because I think, me personally, I think there's always going to be that segment of the population that is going to want people to hold their hand for them, and it's going to just not going to want to look at things themselves, but just take others' word for it because they're either too lazy or they're too scared. Maybe they have that little security of, okay, well, let's just let someone else put it in someone else's hands and everything will be fine. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that, absolutely.
Yeah. And for the most part, I would say maybe that's probably, a big portion of the population that's easily influenced, that's easily, like, maybe that's what businesses target to market to, or, religions market to.
They target people who want to escape, mainly. People who want to place their power in something else's hands to look after them, hold their hand, as you say.
Which is dangerous. Depending on how you look at it, I personally don't like to do that. But what would you say is the biggest mistake that experienced practitioners make?
Not raising a sacred space and not being aware that other spirits can pretend to be other spirits. That's a very common thing that I have come across. Many people come to me infested with imposters and parasites, and it's sad to see what these imposters and parasites can cause people.
Yeah, I think that's a big deal because a lot of people will say, "Oh, this spirit told me this, and this spirit told me that." Well, then someone else will say the same thing, but they'll be like contradicting, or there's no way that they could both be right. I think I definitely see what you mean, and a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't don't test the spirits out or something like when they arrive. Would you agree with that?
I agree 100%. A lot of people, when they first try to summon a spirit and an imposter comes, they generally just trust it immediately straight away and take it as the actual spirit they've been trying to summon.
How do you test spirits out, like to verify that they are who they are?
It's easy to feel the difference, especially if they've been around you since childhood. which for me was the case. But I'm able to see them like by remote viewing, and I can just tell by looking at them. But there's many different ways. You can ask them to show their name energetically in the air, to show the seal of the spirit, because an imposter can't actually use the name and the sigil of the spirit in that manner. They can only just pretend to be the spirits. But yeah.
What would you say was your first holy shit moment in Magic? Meaning like, wow, this is really real. You know what I mean? Like you actually see the results.
That would be, I don't know if I can call this sleep paralysis, but I was drifting off asleep in bed one time, and I felt like someone literally electrocuted my forehead where the third eye is. Like a bunch of electricity went through through one side to the other side. And I had a vision of something that I don't really want to go into, but it was a bit personal. And I asked in the vision, why am I seeing this? And as I've asked this, I opened my eyes, looked to my left at the end of my bed, and there's this big shadow. But it had not tendrils, but like a solar flare effect made of black fire coming in and out, morphing, breathing. And it was just sitting there like looking at me. And because I was so half asleep, I just looked at it and went, oh, okay, that's really cool. I'm going back to bed now. I've had enough of this. And went to bed, woke up, and sort of processed it when I woke up.
Yeah, I remember one time I had been doing some spell work and I just went to bed, and then all of a sudden a swirling portal just opened up right above me, just right in front of. I'm laying down on my bed, and on my ceiling I see this swirling portal. You know what I mean? It just like appeared. You know what I mean? Like it was like purple and black. It appeared for like a second, and then it just disappeared. I was like, wow. I just went back. I was so back to sleep, and then I woke up in the morning. I'm like, holy shit, that was weird.
But same thing.
Yeah. You know, I think a lot of people don't realize that when you do magic, it can actually take from your life force. Because I remember in my early days of doing magic, I would do a spell. It would come to pass, but I would look in the mirror and I would notice that I started to look older. You know what I mean? I started having wrinkles in certain areas of my face that I hadn't had before. Until I realized that, I can draw energy from other things. It doesn't have to come from me. You know, I think would you agree that that's something that a lot of people miss or don't tend to realize when doing magic?
I agree with that 100%. A lot of people tend to miss and not realize that. Me being one of those people, I had the exact same thing happen. I started noticing my face aging after every spell, or seeing little things appearing in that weren't there before, and I'd be like, oh shit, okay, this isn't good. But I've been drawing upon the full moon's energies a lot more, and trying to schedule my spells in the full moon so I can call upon its energies, so it doesn't take as much from me.
So every time there's a full moon, is this something that you observe, or do you tend to focus on other phases of the moon?
Mainly just the full moon. Just the full moon's power I will call upon. If I need to do something when there's no full moon, I will usually call upon a spirit to assist in it, and they will use their own energies, but they always want offerings, usually blood, incense, candles, things of that nature. But I do tend to vampirize heavily before I do any spell work, so I'm sort of super charged up.
Okay. Why only the full moon? Why not, any other event?
I feel it's at its peak of power, if that makes sense. Like it's almost like a build up, the whole cycle. It's building up to this peak. And we all know magic sort of acts like that, especially ceremonial magic. It's a build up and a peak and release into the universe. And when it's at its peak, that's when it's the most strongest energetically I feel.
Now, what would you say is a way to spot a con artist in the community?
Test them out, definitely. Have them do a reading or ask some questions. Con artists usually can't tell when you're lying, and they'll go along with your lies. Real occultists can feel when you're lying to them and when something's off, and they will usually bring it up with you and hint that they know you're lying.
Okay. Yeah, the reason I ask this is it can be a common thing, and a lot of people who are new in the past tend to put a lot of their faith into, a certain teacher or a certain author of books, and just tend to just go along with everything they say without considering anything else. That can be dangerous because you need to have a big imagination.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you don't want anyone else controlling your whole system of magic either. It's never good to give your power to someone else like that.
No, not at all. Not at all. So how is Cult of Belial and Eternal Serpentry doing?
Very good. At the moment with Cult of Belial, we're focusing on releasing knowledge, ways that you can contact spirits like the sigils and chants. I've been channeling different types of transformative rituals. I think Sander released one for alchemically transforming through the element of fire and Aries. Also one that allows someone to alchemically transform themselves to begin a vampire, to have the tendrils, etc. Things of that nature.
You mentioned sigil magic. What would you say is the most common way for that you like to go ahead and create sigils? There's different ways people like to do it, but how do you personally like to go about that?
I mainly channel mine from spirits. I have the ability to just write it down from them. But I'll always test out the sigil. I'll have someone else look at it, they'll confirm it for me, or I'll just trial and error with the sigil. But if I feel like making one from my own power, I'll sort of do the method where you write down all the letters and you remove all the vowels like A, E, I, O, U, and you sort of create a sigil from the remaining letters.
Yeah, I remember speaking previously with someone else about making sigils, and a lot of people just go ahead and just tend to just pass sigils around, assuming they're for a certain thing. But like I had been discussing before, if somebody has, while they're creating a sigil, if they have any doubt or any kind of it's like, say, any doubt in their mind, and they go ahead and create that, well, then that can transfer, when someone else uses it. It's good to have your own. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I agree 100%. It's a form of contagion magic, I'm pretty sure. And that's why it has that effect. So whatever someone pours into a sigil when they're making it, it will leak out to whoever is using that sigil in the future.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, it's been a very, very great chat that we've had. Anything that you'll be dropping within the next few months? Anything we can look forward to for me?
Not that I can say off the top of my head, just some more knowledge and some more rituals and sigils to be posted.
Okay. And to our viewers, go ahead and check out his groups and his channels, Cult of Belial, Eternal Serpentry. I'll go ahead and have those links below. Anton, it's good to have you back, and we'll have you back again sometime. But
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, like and subscribe to Dark Sorcery.